Hey everybody, this is Aaron from the HeroWithin show, and this is our first episode of our podcast. We were lucky to have Tony B. Kim, otherwise known as Crazy4ComicCon, as our first guest. We met with him at a coffee shop in Orange County, California. Make sure if you are going to be at Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con, go check out his booth. He's going to be showcasing his HeroWithin clothing line. So make sure you go visit him. And here's our first episode with me, my co-host Alex Benedicto, and Tony B. Kim. Enjoy. All right, this is the first episode of the HeroWithin show. Today, we're with somebody who really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to let him introduce himself anyway. Mr. Tony B. Kim, otherwise known as Crazy4ComicCon.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm happy. When me and Alex were trying to decide who would be our number one guest for our very first episode, obviously, your name has popped up as one of the top people we wanted to get on here. I mean, seeing as how we're trying to aspire to where you're at right now, and I'm sure a lot of people out there listening can gain a lot from our conversation today, hopefully. And when we started our blog in 2014, June, we went to the first, or that, even just connecting with the other content creators, and then to that Game of Bloggers event that you threw, that was such a cool way to get to know a lot of other people. So from there, and through the years, we kept in touch with social media. We'd see each other at different events. So it's kind of cool how we've gotten to know each other.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge honor. Let me say, just thank you for having me on. And I love Comic-Con and I love everything that comes out of the conventions. But really, my heart and passion is to support content creators and to for all of us to sort of encourage us to create and to write and to podcast and to do all those things. And so to include me in your first one is a real honor. So thanks, guys.
No problem. So basically, the gist of HallH.com is to sort of put the spotlight, the Hall H spotlight that mainstream information or media usually gets, and put that spotlight on artists, writers, and other creatives who we think deserve a shot, or who we think can use that extra exposure. We're fans of a lot of people that we try to promote online. A lot of the artists we've gotten to know through social media. So I'm glad Tony can be here. We'll talk about a project that he's working on currently a little bit later. So basically, we want to know what makes Tony tick. What are his influences? What fuels his passions? How does he take advantage of the opportunities that he worked hard to get? So we want to delve into that stuff.
Right.
I guess my first question would be, what was 13-year-old Tony like?
13-year-old Tony, oh my gosh. It was not a pretty sight. It was not a pretty sight. I had, of course, I wear glasses now, but for most of my adult life, I wore contacts because when I was 13 in middle school, I wore these like really thick, glasses,
right.
And I had braces, and I was just a mess, and everyone's a mess in middle school. Like that's just a tough time. But I look back on it, and I really just felt like, it was just a tough time because my parents had immigrated from Korea about shortly before I was born. But I grew up in a community that was all Caucasian, and so not only you go through, you already feel a weirdo because you're teenager or preteen. But at the same time, I was like the only Asian kid in my whole school and my in my community, and so on top of that, I felt like even a further weirdo.
And where did you grow up?
In Dallas.
Okay.
I'm sporting. I know the podcast can't see this, but I'm sporting my Dallas Cowboy jersey because they just beat the Green Bay today. But yeah, I grew up in Dallas, and so 13-year-old me was definitely very insecure, very lost, very feeling like a misfit, very marginalized, and I was not a pretty sight.
So seeing as how you grew up back in Dallas, what gave you solace? What was your fortress of solitude?
Yeah, for sure. The big thing is, and really what influences and shapes me today is comic books. That really was it, because I was really looking for something that I resonated with, and when I found comic books, the stories that are found in many comic books today, whether you look at Superman or Batman or Spider-Man and anything else, it's all about this oftentimes a loner kid who feels like that they don't know where they're placed in this world, they don't know their purpose, they are lost and they're confused, and a lot of them are from another land or another world, and they're trying to find their powers and their voice. And that really touched me as a kid, because I just felt like that. Wow, like I just kind of poured myself into comics, and Superman was kind of my guy, and I really found that was a place to find comfort, and really instilled in me a lot of the values that I carry on today.
So how did you make your way out to the West Coast, to Southern California?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be out here. I thought I'm a diehard Dallas fan, and I ended up, to my surprise, I took a job out here in California, and for those of you guys who've never lived out on the West Coast, for those of us who grew up in the South or Mid-South, the West Coast felt like, it just feels like it's a whole other planet. It just feels it's so far away that you just would never be out here. And so when I moved out, I came out in 2005 and instantly fell in love. I knew this is my place, and not only just the climate and the culture, but it's so diverse and so creative, and as I was gaining more interest in the convention world, this is the place to be. So I instantly fell in love shortly after I got here.
Did you attend conventions in Dallas?
Just a little bit. I really only had gone to a couple of Star Trek conventions when I was younger, because Star Trek was kind of like my early first love.
Okay.
But really, there wasn't a lot of conventions to go to. There was a little bit of a Star Wars gatherings here and there, but cons really didn't explode till the kind of early 2005, 2010, around there. Conventions started ramping up. So yeah, I had never been to, my first big convention was San Diego Comic-Con.
Which year was that?
2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah, so a little over. This was my 10th year to go, and I guess 11th year technically, with including the first year. And so.
So do you still remember how you felt at your first San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh yeah, I remember as a kid growing up and seeing, back then, San Diego would advertise and promote. They don't do that anymore, but they promoted in the back of comic books. And so I remember just as a kid, looking at these ads about San Diego Comic-Con, and what is this place? And it's this is like some mythical land of Narnia. What is this? And just always wondering. And of course, back then you didn't have internet, so no one really knew what it was. So when I moved out here, we went, and it was funny because, I woke up and called my buddy up and on a Saturday, and said, what? I think there's that Comic-Con I've always heard about is going on. Why don't we go out there? So we literally went out, hit the road at 9, got there at 10, walked up, bought our tickets at the door, and just saw the whole convention, the whole showroom floor in the day. And I left, and I thought, why did we make such a big? I knew I was a big deal, but I'm why are people going 4 days? Because we saw the whole showroom floor. It took a day, and there was really no need to go back after that. And someone asked me, so what did you think of the panels? And I'm what panels? What are you even talking about? I had no idea those panels. So it wasn't until the next year that I actually went back and actually really enjoyed the panels. And so, that's one of the reasons why I started Crazy4ComicCon, was the fact that I went and had no idea what I was doing, had a great time, but I missed out on a ton. And I realized, maybe I could write something that could help maybe other first-timers enjoy Comic-Con for the first time.
So how did you take that first step, as you said, when you wanted to start blogging, to start connecting with others?
Yeah, it's really kind of a backward story, because I didn't intend to write about Comic-Cons. Really, what ended up happening was I had gone for a few years, loved it, saw the potential of it, saw that it was going to be a major sort of ground zero for pop culture in our world. And so much so that each year I would invite my friends from Texas to come out and visit me during the week. In fact, 3 of them have moved out from Texas to live out in California just because I use San Diego as the way to hook them in. That's how the influence and power that it has in people's lives, right?
Right.
So several years of going to conventions. Then back in 2000, was it late 2009, they started promoting Morgan Spurlock's his documentary about episode 4 of Fans Hope, the documentary about Comic-Con.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what, I'm a huge fan, and man, I would love to be a part of this documentary. So I contacted the producers and wrote in my my bio. They contacted me, said they loved it, and they wanted to learn more about me. So during the process of auditioning, I'd gone through a few rounds of the audition, and long story short, I made it into the finals. I was one of the people that were filmed for the documentary, followed for 8 days straight at home, at work, at the convention all week long with the film crew, did the whole thing, and then ended up on the cutting room floor of the documentary.
Oh, no.
But this is the thing, there's a funny thing about it. So through the audition process, I was like, you know what, I need to show the producers how passionate I am about Comic-Con. I was already blogging, I was already part of a couple of different film blogs, and I thought, you know what, the best way I can do that is I'm going to start a blog about Comic-Con. And I'm going to show these producers like how, because I was still in the selections, they were still selecting the candidates for it. So I'm going to show the producers, and I'm going to start a blog. Now, what can I call this thing that is like kind of shows that I'm, you know, my enthusiasm for Comic-Con? Am I like wacky for Comic-Con? Am I like nutty for Comic-Con? It's like, I am crazy for Comic-Con. And so, in fact, the first name was like something like Passion for Comic-Con, something like that. But I named it Crazy for Comic-Con basically to show the producers of the documentary that I am crazy for Comic-Con.
There you go, folks.
Yeah, so I went through the filming. They ended up again leaving me on the cutting room floor, and I was really bummed about that. But then through the process, I thought, you know what? Like I spent like 6 weeks or so like writing about Comic-Con. And during that, I realized that, wow, like there really is not that much content at that time online about Comic-Cons. I was getting contacted, people were emailing me and writing comments, and basically all my tips and stuff, they were just saying how, because I went through, after post-Comic-Con, people were contacting me about how helpful my tips were. Oh, nice. And so even through, and that's one of my things I tell people, other creators, is that, you know, you never know what opportunities will lead to. You know, I thought my big break was going to be this documentary, and I thought, you know, put all my sort of eggs in that basket, and I thought that, wow, I'm going to be in this documentary, and then like that's going to like lead to all this other great stuff. Yeah. And it went nowhere. But then what happening was the creation of Crazy for Comic-Con, and then from there I ended up connecting with, you know, hundreds and thousands of different people and creators as a result of that. And which is why I keep telling people, man, you don't know, you just got to start something, you got to create, you got to move forward. You never know where it's going to lead, and sometimes it's through very painful, disappointing failures that you actually discover the best thing that ever happened to you in your life.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And you know, I'm a big proponent on learning from failures myself, and especially with, you know, I think there's the old adage of, you know, it's how you pick yourself up after something. Mm-hmm. It's not, you know, it's not just failing, but how do you respond afterwards? Yeah. You know, and it seems like you responded after the whole. What was Morgan Spurlock's documentary called?
Episode 4 of Fans Hope.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll look that up and put some links to it.
Yeah. and you know what it really taught me was that we came out of an era where there were gatekeepers, people that decided who were going to be influential, decided who was going to be a voice and a representative, and we've left that era, and now we're all gatekeepers. You know, we all are content creators. We all have the ability to podcast or to write blogs, to make films and whatnot, and that's a huge privilege and opportunity. Mm-hmm. And no one can tell you can't do something. You know, because even after the documentary was filmed and shot and all that stuff, I realized, you know, I can still write my own content, and I can still get it out and still have an impact and, you know, touch people. So it was a really big, pretty profound moment for me that I realized that, you know, we don't need other people to tell you that you can create stuff. You can do it on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess if anybody's watched the recent Luke Cage on Netflix, I guess always forward. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sometimes fall forward.
So, like, if anybody's ever seen Tony at cons, he's always dressed pretty dapper. So I guess we can sort of go into how your passion for pop culture and I guess fashion coalesced into your current project. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Thank you. So I started HeroWithin earlier this year, and really how that started was because I was starting to get more involved with comic conventions, not just San Diego, but started to travel to different conventions all around the nation. I realized that, as someone who is trying to be somewhat professional and somewhat like interacting with the industry, if I wanted to represent my fandom, what options did I really have when it came to clothing? I had basic t-shirts and hoodies. That's basically it,
Right.
And I was meeting all these people, moderating celebrities, meeting a lot of industry people, producers, creators, and I was having to kind of wear the basic blazer and whatever you would wear. And I was like, wow, it's really a shame that there's nothing that I can really wear that really represents how passionate I am about pop culture and about superheroes and comics, and that's really a shame. And so I started really looking intentionally in the comic convention circles of what's out there, and in the past few years, it's been really fortunate that the ladies have had more options with like Her Universe and Black Milk and a bunch of these companies that popped up. But there really hasn't been a lot of innovation when it's come to what guys can wear in the professional space, or at least in a more sophisticated area.
Mm-hmm.
And then also kind of along that lines, for the past few years when I've gone to conventions, especially going to San Diego, wanting to put together what I'm going to wear, they're really, again, because there hasn't been anything, I've always made my own stuff. And so I've made like a TARDIS, like a dress shirt, and I have a DC Heroes patch shirt and a Game of Thrones shirt. And basically I would just make or have someone make, or I'd construct my own.
You did something with bags one year, right?
Yeah, and then that evolved into the Warner Brother bags.
Okay.
And so this is like 4 years in a running, like several years in a row of like making stuff that is representing fandom, right? So that, in conjunction with the fact that there seemed like there was a hole in the market, that there really wasn't anyone creating anything, kind of had that epiphany that maybe I'm going to be the person that's going to make something. So last year, not this past Comic-Con, but convention before, San Diego 2015, I prototyped the first HeroWithin blazer and took that not to San Diego, but then other conventions, and just kind of talked about it with people and other guys out there, and then took that information and then launched HeroWithin back in March. Had the first prototypes available in July, and then we've been in pre-order phase since then, with our first product landing in early December.
So how did you, I guess, initially approach DC with this idea?
People ask me all the time about licensing and kind of how that works, and licensing is kind of tricky because it honestly is very different for everybody. Whether you're working with Warner Brothers or DC, Marvel, Disney, like when it comes down to licensing, that's kind of a tricky thing. Basically, we just reached out. I have someone who's my VP of sales, and he reached out to some people at Warner Brothers and kind of got pinged around to a lot of different people. Eventually found the right person that basically oversaw licensing, and just kind of at a coincidentally, or whatever you call it, the plan is kind of aligned because this person had already been familiar with my work online and was already a fan of my work, and just because I already done because of the Warner Brother bags and other things like that. And so that kind of got my foot in the door, and they were, Warner Brothers was fantastic. They're great. They really do love fans. They love the fandom. They love their properties, and they really want the very best for their fans. So we spent some time together and worked out a deal, and they love the product, and they really want to see. They also agree that there's a hole in the market, and they really want to see professional wear like this succeed. So it was. We couldn't ask for any better situation and opportunity with them, and we're looking forward to where it goes.
How many people? How many other people are involved with?
There are 4 others. So there's 5 of us total, and it's a great team. And what I tell people all the time is that you can have an incredible product, but if you don't have a great team, people that are passionate, who love it, and who are dedicated, then you just can't go anywhere. So a lot of people focus on the innovation of the product, whatever it doesn't have to be just clothes. It can be anything you're creating. But if you don't have a good team and you also don't have some type of social network or something like that, then it's going to be really hard to take that next step. And so, because a million people are creating great products, but you have to have the inroad to industry, you have to have a voice, you have to have a team of people that you can rely on, or else everyone's gonna ignore you, basically.
I agree. I mean, when people say internet, to me, internet is the same as saying social media.
Yeah.
It's all about engagement.
Yeah.
It's all about context.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Warner Brothers decided to go with me, is that they really want to partner with people who already have influence in the space. Because if you're just a dude that's, you can be a guy or girl and you can create a great product, but if you just are trying to go after a cash grab or something like that, that rings really false, right? We all see that, right? We see people who create something that's cool, but you can tell it's just totally just trying to grab money out of fans,
right.
And it comes off as it's just not really authentic. And
exactly.
so Warner Brothers wanted to partner with somebody that they knew were going to handle their property with respect and not abuse it, and create something that fans would resonate with.
Yeah,
So.
I think they definitely made the right choice. I know a few of the panels that we've seen you in recently and in the past dealt with diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about, is the conversation around diversity within pop culture. And we're living in a really interesting time right now. I mean, we've seen the first wave that started back in 2007 or 8 with Iron Man, and it really kind of crested with the Avengers, the Avenger movies. The Marvel properties have definitely spearheaded this whole pop culture renaissance that we're experiencing now. Mm-hmm. And it's really expanded now into Netflix and DC, Warner Brothers, and these other properties. But I think now the sort of second wave that we're experiencing is the whole topic of diversity, and really about not only just skin color, but also the empowerment of superheroines. And now I think what we're kind of seeing is where are heroes that really represent all of us, not just sort of a one demographic. Mm-hmm. And so one of the conversations that I've had the privilege to kind of lead is to be in some great conversations at different conventions, at different panels about diversity in pop culture, and really finding that fans really do want a beautiful sort of mosaic of culture represented in their fandom, and I grew up, I grew up, even as a fan, my 2 heroes as a young Asian American were Sulu and Bruce Lee. That were my 2 heroes that I had to look up to. That was it, right?
Okay.
And the kids today are having that same dilemma. It's better, right? It's much better, but whether it's a young girl or young boy of certain color or whatever, there's not a ton of representation on screen or on the page, but it's getting a lot better, right? It's only getting better because we all have a voice, and because we have the internet, we have an opportunity to voice those opinions, right?
It's a great equalizer.
Yeah, it's a great equalizer, and so. But we see with even recently with Scarlett Johansson with Ghost in the Shell,
right,
and Tilda Swinton with Doctor Strange, and even just I'm hesitant about, we were talking about Luke Cage earlier, and that was a huge step in the right direction when it comes to representing a culture in the Marvel world.
Yeah.
But then coming out next with Iron Fist.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. There's a tension between respecting the source material, but we have to also remember that the source material from DC and Marvel for decades ago were all created from a majority mindset. Most of the characters created back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s were all Caucasian dudes, right? And so I'm a fan of Iron Fist, but I'm thinking today, when you're seeing where the conversation now is about the problems with cultural appropriation when you sort of have like, you know, a majority culture sort of taking the best parts of another culture and making it their own, and sort of the white knight sort of scenario we see a lot of times. And so while I'm excited about Iron Fist, I'm also like, you know, that would have been a great opportunity to say, yes, the source material, we can still respect and honor the source material, but let's go ahead and bring in an Asian American, you know, to lead this role, and to modernize it in a way that really resonates with a global audience, not just, you know, making exactly like it was in the comics. And so I know people don't share that opinion with me, and some people do and don't, and it's a very polarizing sort of conversation. But
yeah,
you know,
I feel you. I feel it because I mean, growing up, I read a lot of Power Man, Iron Fist myself. So you know, there's a part of me that wants to see their story told. But as an Asian American, I totally get your point of view.
Yeah.
You know,
and we just haven't seen we haven't seen an Asian American hero depicted yet on screen, and whether small screen or big screen. And you want to look for the opportunities where it would be easy for them to do it. And this would have been an easy one. They could have easily done that. And so I don't want to judge it too much before I see it, but I just wanted to, you know, like, but anyway, back to the original question of, you know, a decade, two ago, none of us were voicing our disappointment with the fact that there was enough representation, but now it's changed. Now we feel like we have a voice and platform to say, you know, we want to see better representation, stronger representation. We don't want to see, we want the pop culture products that really represent fandom, and fandom is global, right? And we come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, genders, and you know, we want to see a better representation. And so it's an honor to be able to lead those conversations at different conventions, and I'm learning a lot, and I hope those that are in those panels learn a lot as well.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about conventions, I mean, the conventions, especially, you know, Comic-Con conventions, or, you know, pop culture conventions in general, is such a unique space. I mean, I was talking to Urias. He's the one that created the Black Heroes Matter movement, and he said, you know, outside is outside, but when you come to, like, say, San Diego Comic-Con, it's like people are so accepting, and you know, they give you a chance to voice your opinions, and it's like a really fluid discussion and dialogue. And so, you know, I guess I kind of took it for granted sometimes, because yeah, you're right. There's another person that we try to see every convention. His name is Brian Tillman. He's an artist based out in Baltimore, and he holds a panel of how to pitch and promote yourself. And he says, you know, you're at a place full of nerds. You know, you're at Nirvana. You shouldn't be afraid to talk to the people here. You're with your tribe, you know, basically.
Yeah.
So taking into account what Urias, you know, told me at San Diego Comic-Con about how, you know, Comic-Con is a place for camaraderie, and seeing as, you know, your experiences, you know, at the cons, various cons in San Diego Comic-Con as well, it's just like, yeah, you're right. In terms of diversity, I think we have taken a large step forward. Even out in media, you know, I see more Asians in commercials these days. You know, whereas before it's like, whoa. I almost started a website just taking a clicker and saying, I saw X amount of Asians on TV today.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, you know, interesting times.
It is. And what I love about comics and comic conventions is you already see the comics are they can take more risk because there's not as much dollars involved.
Right.
That's why you can see like Marvel creating the new Avengers with Black Cap, female Thor, Muslim Miss Marvel. Like they can take that route, right? And even like there's a Korean Hulk and there's a Chinese Superman, and you know they can take those sort of risks. And at Comic Cons, we can have those discussions about why this is good and what can come out of it, the potential of all this. And so what I love is that at the heart of a multi-billion-dollar industry like the movie industry, at the heart of it is this small little industry of comic books, which is still relatively small in comparison to movies. And so it really is, because we have such direct conversation with the artists and creators and writers of these comic books, we have an opportunity to kind of shape a bigger beast like the movie industry by our dollars and by our opinions and by our feedback. And if it works on a comic book level, then it'll catch the attention of who knows, and it'll go from there. I hope they make like Ms. Marvel into a TV show. It'd be a great Netflix show or a movie. Heaven forbid we support a Muslim superhero, and like it'd be so awesome to see something like that, happen. And I can't wait for Black Panther, and of course I can't wait for Wonder Woman. And so what's so awesome about Comic-Con is that we can exchange those thoughts. We can show our approval, and some of the industry people, it'll catch their attention, where they want to maybe take that next step in making it into a major blockbuster film.
Speaking about next steps, what's next for you?
Well, right now I'm really focused on HeroWithin, and that's our big thing right now. We are in our second round of pre-orders. I can't wait for the product to arrive and ship out to all of the buyers, and so it's the shipment's going to arrive in early December, and it'll start shipping out then. And so really right now we're just focused on promotion, doing a lot of media. I've been so grateful for just the overwhelming amount of support I've been able to get from not just people that are followers of Crazy4ComicCon, but then just media people in general who are interested and also have shared the same thing, that frustration that I've seen, which is there's just not enough options for geek guys out there.
Yeah.
So right now it's basically the big media train, just like talking to a lot of people, a lot of websites, a lot of other creators. And in 2 weeks we're heading to LA Comic-Con, and of course in LA, the formerly Kamikaze Expo.
Right, we'll be there.
And so we'll have our first real booth. We'll be we'll be there.
We'll come check it out.
Yeah, and then we're also part of the Les Geeks So Chic fashion show, which in the past they've not had male collection represented at that show. So we'll be the first all men's collection represented, which I'm really excited about.
Okay.
So that will be our really big sort of launch for HeroWithin. I know we launched back in July, but this will be our first one where we have a booth. We were on the fashion show. At that point, we'll only be 4 or 5 weeks away from delivery of our product. So yeah, right now it's just all about the launch of the company, and so that has my hands full, certainly.
Oh, definitely. I can only imagine. So, like, we started our conversation with, you telling us about the 13-year-old Tony.
Yeah.
Like, what type of advice would you give that 13-year-old Tony?
Oh man, I definitely would say don't sweat it. It's not the end of the world. I would definitely say that because, there's nothing more, there's nothing more demoralizing than feel like you're in a dead end. And I remember just thinking as a 13-year-old, I was making the hormonal changes and all that stuff, and I remember just thinking, man, life's not gonna get any better than this. And what I would tell my 13-year-old self is embrace the weird, because for many of us, and even beyond being 13, for a good chunk of our adult lives, we spend it trying to impress people we don't even like, and we just try to conform and fit into for the majority to get acceptance. And there's just something so wonderful about being weird, be weird and different. And I would tell my 13-year-old self to embrace the weird. Sooner or later, you'll be appreciated for how weird you are, and don't worry about what other people think. And I spent too much of my life just trying to please other people, and I would say, man, just go out and celebrate the weirdness. So.
It's good advice. Embrace the weird, baby.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So, what other passions do you have besides? Obviously, you got your fashion thing going.
Yeah.
What else do you like to do?
Like I mentioned earlier, I love being a part of the content creation sort of community, and so whether it's through podcasts or through writing or some different video projects that I'm a part of, it's just fun being with people who love to create and to write. I love that. One thing I don't talk about that often is that I had a real block for the longest time about writing. I was a terrible writer. Two things actually. The first one is that terrible writer. Didn't like to read when I was a kid. Didn't like to write. I have a stack of journals that are, like a foot tall, that have like the first page written in them, and then that's it, right? And so just really a terrible writer, very indisciplined, and really for the longest time felt like that I couldn't write. And when I started blogging for the first time, this is back in like 2000, maybe like 8 or 9, I felt something unlock in me, that it was with the writing for a live audience, getting the live feedback, that really helped kickstarts my writing. So I'm not by no means am I a great writer, but I definitely love to write now. And that first year I told myself I'm going to commit to write every day, no matter what. And so for a year straight, I wrote every day online. And that basically greased the wheels, the gears, to get myself writing quite a bit. So so writing, talking to other writers, doing that, like that is because I was at a place where I really felt like I couldn't write, and I just was not capable of doing that.
Right.
So really being able to help inspire other writers to maybe do that as well, like to get going, I love that. The other thing is that I struggled with terrible stage fright. Like I was really not good in front of people and not good in front of microphones, and a lot of anxiety, like the sweaty palms and blurred vision and all that stuff. Like I was very debilitating. So because I was blogging so much, that kind of forcing me to get out in front of people. And I was at how I got past that was I booked a trip to go to a convention that was, I ended up booking the wrong dates for this convention. And I was there a week early. And so I was like in Chicago. So I'm like, dang it, like I wasn't gonna cancel tickets. So I went to this convention a week early, and I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? So I contacted the producers of the convention and said, hey, I'm just out here for a week early. Can I just come like help you guys do something, So they're like, sure. So I would go and I would help with programming. This is like days leading up to the convention. Right. Help with programming and help with ideas and a lot last minute production stuff. I just was helping out. And right before the show, they said, oh yeah, you're gonna moderate and host the convention. And I was like, what are you talking about? So this is like at that time the main panel crowd was 3,000 people. So I was just thrown into the deep end, and it was like I was freaking out, like doing this, right? And survived the weekend. And from that point on, I was like, wow, that just sort of like kind of helped break my fear of speaking in public. I'm not great by any means, but it just sort of, I had to go into the deep end of it to kind of get over myself to just start to enjoy it, I still get nervous, I still have a lot of anxiety when I do stuff like that, but I realized, what? When it's even, the fear's not going to kill you, and once you're just doing it, then it gets, you just keep doing it over and over again, it gets a little bit better. So really, you're back to your original question, what I love to do, helping other writers, helping other people who are speaking on stage, and just basically other type of more public content creators, like people who are just starting out. I love to just help encourage them and get them going, and just to help inspire them. And the greatest compliment I can ever get is someone saying, "Hey, I started to write or create or do host panels or whatever because of you." So that's the most encouraging thing I could hear.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now that you have your, I guess, side hustle going on, I mean, do you still work full time, or do you?
No, I do. HeroWithin is my main thing.
Yeah.
So
wow.
So I've been doing that since March.
Okay.
And so before that, I was doing a lot of marketing, communications, and other things like that. And since earlier this year, HeroWithin is my main thing, and then my side thing is the traveling to conventions and hosting it and whatnot.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's good to hear. I love when I see people pursue their passions and it becomes their hobby becomes their full-time thing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. I was back in last September. I was in a crossroads where, I have a family and I got bills and a mortgage and all that stuff like everyone else does, and I kind of fell into that trap of stability and just keep things stable. But at the same time, I was talking to my design partner, and we were saying, we've been knocking this HeroWithin thing around for months now, and is it ever going to happen? And I remember saying, if it's ever going to happen, I'm going to have to do it full time. But you know what? Like I've got like family and a mortgage. I got all this stuff to kind of worry about, and like, I don't know how I'm going to do both. And so, and I kind of came to a crossroads early this year where, the full-time gig didn't work out, and I kind of was like, wow, like, this is the opportunity to really make the dreams come true. And so I've been blogging and writing about that for so many years. I thought, you know what, this is the time to kind of put my money where my mouth is, and to go for it. And it's been the best ride and journey. Anyone who's starting small business or your own thing knows it's a roller coaster ride to kind of do your own thing. But I'm spent the other day all day designing. Like these. We're coming out with these button-down shirts, and designing like these Batman shirts, these Wonder Woman, and all these different shirts. And I was like, man, like I just get to create like stuff that I love, and it's very rewarding to be able to do that. So yeah, it's crazy making, but it's awesome.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, like I said, HeroWithin is going to be we are a lifestyle brand, which means we're more than just about apparel, but really about helping shape a message for the world. And so for me, I call my company HeroWithin because I believe all of us have a here within all of us to do great things in this world, whether it's in very public ways or it's in very private ways. We can do good things in this world that really changes and shapes people's lives. And so HeroWithin is right now, it's a platform to want to tell those heroic stories. Our primary vehicle right now is the apparel collection, but really it's just the beginning. Like, we really want to branch out into other merchandising, media platform, like really it to become a sort of an empire that celebrates heroism. And so 5 years from now, like, I would love to see a full top, head to toe apparel collection for guys and girls, multiple licenses with that. Also want to see a media side that's whether it's through online videos to other things that really just tell stories of heroism. And there's a number of nonprofits we're looking to partner with that, again, kind of the whole idea of heroes. We want to partner with that. One of the things that I'm passionate about is helping foster children in the Orange County foster care system. And so really want to advocate and champion that for not only just foster kids, but also foster parents. And so we really see like HeroWithin being a major player in advocating, telling those stories, and creating awareness around the need to help foster children. So 5 years from now, I really do see HeroWithin being a brand that's beyond just clothes, but just something that really helps people kind of reach in and find their hero within, to whatever world that you are in, to help you be the best version of yourself. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess we'll end it here. You have any other questions, Alex? Alex is my co-host, but unfortunately we only have a system for 2 mics. So in the future, once we do one of these podcasts, we'll have a third mic.
But I appreciate you guys. I one of the best parts, like you mentioned, one of the reasons why I started Game of Bloggers back a few years ago was everyone loves blogging about Comic-Con, but when Comic-Con comes around, we just sort of have to, by accident, run into each other, and a lot of times that's at the end of the week, and I thought, that's a real shame. Like, we all love each other. Like, we should try to connect with each other even before the show begins in order to have an even more productive week throughout that week. So starting that, and I was overwhelmed with how important it was for young bloggers to find each other and to connect with each other, and meeting you guys there, and then meeting a lot of other people within the con community, and seeing like what you guys are doing, especially with like ConFits and just like
SDCC
SCC Fits, and all the how you're able to take the brand of Hall H and then morph into something that's very unique to you guys. It's really awesome. And I love the fact that even though San Diego Comic-Con, that world is kind of big, the blogging community is still kind of small, it's still kind of tight, right? And so we all kind of know each other, and I think what I love is that there's no competition, there's no people trying to one up each other. It really is about supporting each other, trying to bring your own sort of unique spin to it, and you're bringing this sort of health and fitness side of it. I'm bringing sort of a fashion side to it, and we're seeing so many different people kind of make it kind of unique to their own.
Yeah, I agree. The camaraderie is so real.
Yeah.
It's funny that we should bring this up or end their discussion on this note. I just want to send out a quick shout out to Sully from Nerd Food.
Yeah.
When we first thought about doing our podcast, I reached out to him for any advice that he could give me. And he sent back a whole encyclopedia of information. So thank you, Sully. So I guess we'll end it here. Where can people find you online, Tony?
You can find me, my two personas. I've been kind of turned to split personality. So Crazy4ComicCon.com, of course, is my Comic-Con side. And of course, at Crazy4ComicCon on social media. And I'm still traveling to conventions and still covering a lot of cons. But again, I'm also spending more time on my fashion collection HeroWithin. So HeroWithin Inc. INC. So HeroWithin Inc. and then HeroWithinStore.com. And again, we're delivering our merchandise at the end of the year. So you'll see a lot of. Finally, our product will be in the hands of of customers, and I'm really excited about LA Comic Con coming up in a couple weeks. And so, for any of you guys who want to see our clothes in person, then definitely come check us out there.
Can you talk about distribution, or is that still?
What do you mean?
Where is it going to be sold at?
We have several. Retail sites that's going to be sold on by the end of the year. I can't announce those yet, but they're big sites. They're sites that everyone's heard of. We'll also actually be in our first brick and mortar this December as well. Again, I can't announce that yet either. But come this end of the year, we'll be in a lot of sort of major spaces, and so I'm super excited about that. And then, of course, by springtime, we'll be launching a whole new collection for spring, and yeah, super excited. The men's fashion geek side has been, even though there's a huge demand, it's still a challenge because guys aren't as aggressive buyers as the female counterparts are. And so that's where I need, guys, I need your support. And the girlfriends, mothers, and daughters, and partners of guys, I need you also to support the line, because I get a lot of feedback of people want to see me do Marvel and Disney, and girls want to see professional wear. But I can only do that if there is support of the current collection, because it provides the resources for me to launch the next generation of merchandise.
Right.
So I'm just asking people to buy everything, even if you don't like it, buy it, give it away to someone, because in order for us to evolve, I need the support of the online community today. So
I assume you'll be selling at
yeah, we'll be doing the pre-sales at Comic-Con, but again, the delivery will be 4 weeks from then. So basically, yeah.
Cool.
So.
Well, we look forward to hooking up with you at Stanley's LA Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
We got to do it again.
Yes, for sure.
Alrighty, brother. Thank you so much for tuning into the HallH.com show. We value your input, so please let us know how we can make the show even better and what other guests you think we should interview by leaving a comment below or engaging with us on social media. See you in Artist Alley.